anything that you haven't heard, except where these numbers come from. When you die, someone, not you, someone will say you had a primary cause of death. There are primary and secondary causes of death. The primary cause is the number one leading or primary reason why you passed. You can have 30 secondary causes listed on a death certificate, up to 30. All of those are called associated or secondary causes of death. The fact that we have 463 COVID deaths in 2020, those are the primary, okay? So COVID was the primary cause of death of 463 people in 2020. At the moment, we've had 1,718, as of yesterday, people in Wyoming die from COVID, associated, okay? So when you hear the numbers on TV or in the news, please be careful in understanding that there are primary and secondary, and oftentimes what they report are COVID associated, which means there's some other cause, but they also had COVID. Same is true for cancer. You can die from cancer, you can die with cancer, okay? The thing that I want to stress is that the science behind that number is the same science behind the numbers above it and below it. Science doesn't have sex. We don't have little cults. We don't have little changes. The science behind all of these numbers is exactly the same. So please, if you know anyone who would like to know more about this in a positive and calm fashion, tell them to call me. I'm willing to explain this. I'm not going to argue anything about this. Trust me, you're not going to change my mind. I'm an epidemiologist, okay? So, but I'm willing to talk to people because there's a lot of confusion about these numbers out there. But if you don't believe those numbers, you can't believe the cancer numbers either. And you can't believe the heart disease numbers. And if you don't believe that, then cancer's a hoax, and we know bloody well it's not, okay? So the key thing is that chronic disease, just those 5 chronic diseases, heart disease, cancer, chronic respiratory disease or COPD, Alzheimer's, stroke, and diabetes, those 6 account for nearly 6 out of 10 deaths in the state every year, okay? COVID jumped up there. And that's why the numbers for 2020 are down. It's 53 instead of 60%. But normally it's around 59, 60% every single year, just in those diseases. So while, you know, rabies and that kind of stuff gets a lot of play and it's really exciting, this is what's killing people every year, okay? So yes, I'm a happy ray of sunshine. And I put in lots of these because it's been a kind of depressing 2 years. If you're under 30, this is Keith Richards. He and his friends Mick and Ron and Charlie started a band a long time ago called the Rolling Stones, okay? What we have to do is figure out what kind of world our grandchildren are going to leave to him and Willie Nelson, okay? So, and if people don't think that COVID caused a spike in deaths, this is the number, okay? We've been pretty even, okay? 5,070 in 2018, 5121, 2019. That's the biggest jump we've had in a long time. To go from 51 to 59 is huge, okay? The problem is our population hasn't been growing. That we can't just blame that on having more people in the state, because our population isn't growing. And in fact, it's been pretty stagnant. We lost a few thousand people from 15 to 20. So it's not with our population. Our population is, however, getting older. Our population is having more chronic diseases. And part of that is that people from other states like California sell their homes and come to Wyoming to retire, and they bring their chronic diseases with them. They don't leave them in California and Nevada. Okay, so we will deal with them. Like Dr. Van Dornick said, there's a lot of stuff that we have to do, and a lot of time and money and everything in dealing with cancer and heart disease and everything else. So in 2019, prostate was the leading cancer diagnosed. Usually is. These top four. So prostate, breast, lung, colorectal, they're called the big four. They're called that for a reason. They are the top four cancers diagnosed in the state every single year. Breast cancer, we had 418 female, 3 male. Yes, men can get breast cancer. Yes, it's diagnosed the same way. And no, men don't like mammograms either. Okay, melanoma is up. Melanoma came in 5th. It kind of depends on the year, but it's usually either melanoma, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, or urinary bladder is 5th. Those change, the other 4 don't. Where they come in may change. Breast cancer may be number 1 some years, but those 4 are always there, always there. Okay, so that's incident. And sorry, there was a typo in the 2019 cancer plan. It says 2790. It was actually 2849. I don't know how that got past me, but it did. This is cancer mortality. So while prostate and breast are the number 1 cancers diagnosed every year, lung cancer is what's killing people. Okay, lung cancer has been the number 1 cause of cancer death for, like Dr. Van Dornick said, the 1940s. Part of that was them giving cigarettes to soldiers in World War II. Got a lot of people hooked on tobacco. And then later on, women started smoking more, and women are now catching up with men and surpassing them. And more women than men are being diagnosed with lung cancer. More women than men are dying from lung cancer now. So you've come a long way, baby. Colorectal, pancreas, ill-defined means is that the cancer has metastasized, it's spread throughout the body to the extent that we don't know where it started, basically. And then breast and prostate. Again, they're diagnosed a lot, not necessarily killing a lot of people. That's a testament to finding it early and better treatment over the past 20, 30 years. Okay. Okay. The incidence, 5-year incidence groups, these have been going up as well, steadily since the 1970s. The Wyoming Cancer Surveillance Program has data back to 1963. It has good data back to 1980, but even the data from 1970 is showing that we continue to increase the number of cancers diagnosed in Wyoming every single year. And again, our population is not growing. We can't just say there's more people, okay? So this is all cancer sites. And you can see that Wyoming is and has been for many, many years below the national average, below what the US rates are. These are rates per 100,000 population. And that's good. It was kind of going down a little bit there for a while, but then it's kind of plateaued and remained steady. Steady is not terrible, but going down is better. This is what we see in terms of men and women. And then overall is the black one. So you can see that for the most part, we don't see a whole lot until we start getting into the 40s and 50s. Okay. part of that is because cancer is a relatively slow growing disease. A lot of cancers just grow slowly over time. Okay, so like one cigarette's not necessarily going to give you lung cancer, and it takes a long time. Some cancers aren't like that. Some are very aggressive and grow quickly, but we usually don't start seeing cancer until the 40s and 50s, usually. What I don't like are, and I can't see it, are bumps. I don't like to see bumps in the numbers on that end of the graph. I hate bumps because that means we're getting cancers in people under 40, under 30, under 10. I really hate those. Okay. This is true, by the way. Female breast cancer, we're always lower than the national average, which is terrific. And for the first time, you can kind of see that the national and Wyoming's are kind of similar. It doesn't happen very often, but we're both starting to go down again, which is good. The national rate has been going up slowly, but finally we're starting to trend down again. Part of the reason for that is mammograms. This is the 1970s on the far side, and the orange line is late stage cancer. So those are cancers caught in the what's called distant or regional stage. Okay, stage 3 and 4 sometimes. Those are harder to treat. Those are harder to cure, basically. And so you can see in the 70s, 60% of breast cancers were diagnosed at the late stage and only 40% were diagnosed early. And then it started going down. And around 1985, late 80s is when mammograms really started to be used. And that switched. And it's been going up ever since the early stage. We want to catch them early. We want them in site 2 and local, those stages. The only problem is that in 2015 and 19, it's gone down a little bit. In 2010 to 14, it was 70, about 71 to 29 and 71. Now it's 69 and 31. Don't like that. We don't want to see that. We want to see it keep broadening out. Okay. Good thing is that in 2019, we're back over 70%. So the in situ and local here is 71% staged. So those are the early stages of breast cancer. That's what we want to see. And this is important, like Dr. Van Dornick was saying. It's important to catch it early. It's important to use the screening tools that are available. Problem is that even though we have those tools, Wyoming is still one of the lowest mammogram states in the country. Our mammogram rates in women over 40 comes in routinely at 49, 50th out of 51 states and the District of Columbia. Okay. Another screening tool, which it was working terrific, 13 to 15, it was going down, colorectal cancer, but we've started to climb back up again. And the screening for colorectal cancer is terrific because if you remove the polyp, you remove the risk. That's wonderful. But we have to get people in to do them. And we have to get people understanding that those are important tests. The other thing, which is a problem, is that we're seeing, this is in 2019, we're seeing cases diagnosed as young as 25. We don't start telling people they need a colonoscopy until they're 50. What do we do when you're 40 and 45? This is why we need to talk to people about talking about cancer. It's okay, you can talk about it. It's not going to give you cancer to talk about cancer. And except for some very weird or rare cancers, it's not contagious. But so many people they don't want to talk about it. We need to talk about it because these cancers come from family history. Those are genetics. And if you don't know this, you can't do anything about it to catch it early enough. And some of these early cancers are the ones, or early in age, are being diagnosed at the late stage because they're just not understanding that they have this risk. If your family has a risk, your grandmother and mother died of colon cancer, you need to tell your doctors, and we need to tell other people to tell their doctors, okay? Because the only way to catch these earlies is to do the colonoscopies and the FIT tests, or and all of that. So, okay, lung cancer keeps going down. This is one of the good ones. It keeps going down. We need it to go down. We need it to stay down. We want to get it to zero. So stop smoking. These are ages for lung cancer. Again, we generally don't see lung cancer. It's pretty much slow growing. It takes a lot of pack years. It takes a lot of cigarettes, but it's not just smoking, but okay. But we did have one cancer in the 20 to 24-year-old group. That's lung cancer. It's hard to treat, hard to survive. Melanoma in Wyoming is on the rise. This is the one that we're having kind of some trouble with because it keeps going up. It went down a little bit, but keeps going up. And we're seeing it really young. 10 to 14, it's one male. 10 to 14, 15 to 19, 20 to 24. Each one of those had one male melanoma in 2019. Okay. Then in 20 to 25, there were three. There were two females and one male. That's young to be dealing with melanoma. Okay. But again, we catch them early. So 92% of the melanomas in the state are caught at an early stage where they're more treatable, more curable, and it helps the prognosis greatly to catch them that early. Okay. Pancreas is one of those cancers that we don't have screening for. Melanoma screening is just having your doctor look at your skin. It's a great way to do it. Pancreas, we don't have a screening. We don't have a tool. It's hard to find something. There are some things being developed, but it's tough. And treating it is tough. And the pancreatic cancer, I'll get to in a few minutes, the 5-year survival rate. With pancreatic cancer, we talk about months. If you make it to a year, you've done terrific. Okay. This is a horrible cancer. And again, it's hard to catch it early. And as you can see, unlike melanoma, we're diagnosing this at the regional and distant stages. It's already spread. Okay. This isn't me, I don't smoke. Prostate is the other cancer that we're actually doing some good. It went up for a few years, and it's one of the only cancers that we're actually above the US rate. It's one of the few cancers that Wyoming actually beats the US in. It went down for a lot of years. And when it started going down, I didn't believe it. I thought we were missing numbers, but it actually went down. Now it's gone back up again. Hopefully that little downward trend from 16 to 18 on continues, because we don't want to see prostate cancer. But again, this is a nice one. I show you this one because there's no bumps. You know, it's not until you're 45 that we even get anything for prostate cancer. And the good thing about it is we can catch it early. 79% it's got in the local stage where it's very, very treatable. Plus, with some of the outstanding advances in medical treatment, it's made it really better to survive prostate cancer. So you can see here, prostate down near the bottom, 99% 5-year survival rate. That means that 99% of the people diagnosed with prostate cancer are alive at 5 years after their diagnosis, which for all intents and purposes means they're cured of that cancer at least. Okay. So prostate, breast, 94.5, wonderful. In the 70s, it wasn't even close to that. Colorectal, still hard, it's 66.2. Melanoma, 98%. So you can see screenings and catching it early, this is where it pays off. Pancreas, 15.3. Lung, 24.4. Okay. Brain and spinal column, or brain and CNS is low as well, 32.8. Have a hard time catching those early and treating them well. Okay. Now, the good point is that for kids, it's even better. Many of the childhood cancers are more treatable because that's where science and medicine dumped a lot of money in the 70s and 80s, was to try to combat childhood cancer. And they developed some wonderful techniques for treating it and getting the childhood cancers into remission or curing them. So some of these are 100%. Brain and CNS is still hard. It's still a tough cancer to treat in children, but most of the rest of them are over 90. And we like that. We'd like all of them to be like that. Okay. This is a little hard to see, but you can see kind of where some of these are happening. So cases, this is incidence. So these are the cases diagnosed. The leukemias, 5 of them in 0 to 4. This is just 2019. That's not good. The other thing that I will tell you is that I've been doing this report and I've been doing this table for 18 years now, almost 20 years now. And this was one of the first years where I had enough cases to fill in under 30 to 34 to fill in all 5 of those. Usually up until about 40, I'm only filling in 2 or 3 sites in each of those. We're starting to see enough that I can fill in. And this is only if there's more than 3. I'm starting to see enough where I can fill in all of those in the 30-year-olds and even 25 and 29. Okay. That means that the number of people getting cancer in the state, the age is going down, and that there's more cancer being diagnosed at a younger age. This is mortality. Okay. Thankfully, we didn't have much in those early age groups. But what you can see is that breast cancer, women die from breast cancer earlier. Okay. If it's not diagnosed early and treated and everything, they tend to die a little bit younger. And then lung cancer takes over. And that's what is killing people in terms of cancer. There's a lot of lung cancer happening. Urinary bladder also comes up, and that's tied also to smoking. Almost no cases of urinary bladder happen unless you smoke. Okay. Sorry to be a downer. Y'all look so happy right now, but are there any questions? I just wanted, these numbers prove what Dr. Van Dornick says, though. early treatment and screening really, really helps your prognosis in cancer, and it costs less. It's less hard on the family, less hard on the patient, less hard on society in general. So, any questions? I wasn't very dynamic today because I couldn't move around. I'm sorry. I know, but okay, one last one.
You'd mentioned in one of the slides about survival statistics, soft tissue cancers as having about 100%. Can you for children? And do you know, are those diagnoses specified in any way? Is there a more specific list of those diagnoses, or I can follow up with you offline on that one? I'm just curious about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In the data that I get, it's not necessarily specified where. It does include heart cancer, the cancer of the heart, but I can split things out if you need them. So all of this data is collected by the Wyoming Cancer Surveillance Program, and cancer is the only reportable chronic disease in the state, and has been a reportable chronic disease since 1977, which means that every single case of cancer in Wyoming resident has to be reported to us, whether it is diagnosed in Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Montana, New York, doesn't matter. We get them all and we abstract them and put them into the system. And then I pull data from that system and then do this kind of stuff. But what I can do is if you have questions about a specific type of cancer, I can pull you data for that back to, again, 1970. I can break down data by different years, by counties, by age, sex, gender, ethnicity, race, whatever you want. So that data is available. It's all here. I also run the BRFIS program, which is the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System Survey, which is a survey, telephone survey that we do every year for people age 18 and older. And every other year, we ask people about screening, whether or not they've had a mammogram. We ask women about mammogram and pap tests, and we ask everyone about colonoscopies if you're age 50 or older. Okay, but given the numbers, I might suggest we start doing that a little earlier, or enter in a different question. But those numbers are available. I have that kind of information as well. So there's a lot of data about cancer. All you need to do is ask if you're interested or if your work group needs it. It's available and I can get it for you. This is what I do for a living. I'm a data troll. I sit in my office and crunch numbers. This makes me happy.
Try to keep my comments to a dull roar, but there's one slide up there which I think encapsulates so much of what we do, and you pointed it out, and I just think that it bears repeating. I think that the slide about the breast cancer, late stage versus early stage, and if you pull that up, I mean, what a visual representation of what we do. Yeah. Right where those lines cross. So the orange line is the late stage, blue line early stage. the lines cross right at 1985. And as exactly as you said, that is when mammography came into popular use. And it is, that slide is such a compelling example of why we are here today. And that is lives saved. That is families who are not having to go to, who have to go to less medical appointments. That's memories, that's Christmases, that's birthdays. And also it's a lot less money that's poured into our healthcare system, which can be liberated for other things. So I think that's a fantastic slide, and I thank you for your presentation.
I made that actual graph years ago because there was some comments about whether or not mammograms were worth doing, whether or not we should keep them and everything. And there's arguments on both sides. As a screening tool for a population, it's not that great. But as a tool to catch cancer early, you can't beat it. I mean, I'll show anyone this and I'll fight to the death to prove that mammograms work. And this is, for most people, this is all I need to show them. It's like, there you go. If you understand this, then you see the need for mammograms. So, okay, anything else? Questions, comments, epiphanies? Never get any epiphanies. That's just, okay, thank you.